Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Parakamanam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Shakarajadam Shakaram Raganatam Vidam Sajiva Shadaitam Savadutam Varijan Shaitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Shakam Vidam Mantra Guru Ajata Shiva Guru Vanta Charane Agi Karyavam Panchakapatru Vyashtakapashindu Velacham Pavanila Vaishnava Vishnu Hare Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shambhavi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Dinamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauramani Puracharini Nirvishesha Shambhavi Krishna niche kaja loye Bada hoye kaja niche kaja loye Maya chale bada hoye Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Gauranga Jaya Gauranga ISKCON Bodhisattva Acharya Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shamavedu और Bhakti Vrinda ki jai. Navadip Shimad Dham ki jai. अपने आश्रम और प्रभु जी वो एक ग्रंथ एक देते हैं ये क्या नहीं हरे कृष्ण उन्हें एकदम धन्यवाद आशय श्री महाप्रसाद ने जय चंद हरे कृष्ण So we're discussing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I'll share the screen. We're discussing a topic here. It's the topic of the Rukshika that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives to Srila Sanatana Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And we were discussing in the last session the devotees arriving in Bengal, Bangladesh. And that was very amazing. That through the lips of the king of Puri, we were getting a description of the significance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement. The Puri king, he explained that even though he was witnessing so many kirtans, being the king of Puri every day down the road, but he explained that Kahana Hadeki Shani Kahana, a modul kirtan is Raj Kohe. That was it. Ache Prem, Ache Nit, Ache Hari Dhani. Such love, Ache Prem, Ache Nitya, such dancing, Ache Hari Dhani, such sounding of the names of Lord Hari. Kahana Haideke, Ache Kahana Hishuni. I've never seen that before. I've never seen such transcendental loving. Prabhupada explained it, described it as the Prem Shankirtan, the loving, the congregational chanting of the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I've never seen such a thing. And through his lips, the significance, he's the king of Puri. So, this is unprecedented. This is the significance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan mission, that there's only one, this is unprecedented. This type of Sankirtan we've never seen. And this way, the impression, the impact of witnessing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers doing Sankirtan that's being recorded by the lips of the king of Puri. This is very significant. This is not just an ordinary thing. Oh, the people on the street said, yeah, awesome. No, the king of Puri, from his public quarters, in the association of several other notaries and statesmen of Orissa, he explained that Kahana Haideki Shuni Kahana Haideki Ache Kahana Shuni Ache Prem Ache Nicha Ache Haridoni. This type of loving, this type of dancing, this type of Sankirtan, I've never seen it. I've never heard of it. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he explains that Acharya Bhattacharya kohe a modur vachon, this sweet sound, a modur vachon. Chaitanya Srishti, a Prem Sankirtan. This is the creation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is Prem Sankirtan. This is the way the devotees, this is the way the devotees, the Sankirtan of the Vaishnavas, it's the full of love. It's Prem Sankirtan. It's Mahaprabhu's movement. You chant it, then it'll awaken the love. What does that mean? You chant the Mahamantra, particularly in a congregation. That's what we're missing. Even though you're hearing, we're able to together and chant, we're going to miss that. But that's very powerful. The love of God is experienced in that Prem Sankirtan. Because it's Chaitanya Srishti, Prem Sankirtan, the Bhattacharya says. And Modur Vachon, it's Chaitanya Srishti, it's created by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prem Sankirtan. So it's very attractive to the soul. And that was being the love, you could say the Bhakti Renaissance, as the academics describe, the Bhakti Renaissance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is being recorded here by the lips of the king of Puri. So then we also heard the way in which the devotees from Bengal were received, because that's also significant. They came and they're immediately the king arranged for them accommodation and prasadam of Lord Jagannath, right? And they were accommodated near Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because that's how important they were. This is the king reflecting that the city of Puri was giving this great respect and concern and interest that the devotees Gauda Hoite Vaishnava, 200 devotees are coming from Gauda, Bengal. Mahaprabhu Bhakti Shah Mahabhagavat. They're special. They're devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but they're greatly advanced Vaishnavas. So this obviously the king sees as an opportunity. Wow. Why is he saying this? Because now you want to get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's what you'll hear discussing with your priest. 200 of his dearmost associates have just arrived from Bengal, and they are Mahabhagavata. They're greatly advanced Vaishnavas. So what are you going to do about that? Obviously, this is very instructive for us that if we can do something that can actually contribute to the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or to please Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I reflect on my becoming a devotee of the Krishna consciousness. Maybe you don't need to have this all the time. I can share it sometimes. I reflect on my becoming a devotee of the Krishna consciousness movement, and I was a student in the college, and I was taking prasadam at the ISKCON Food for Life outlet. I was taking prasadam there every day because it was even free. Or I think I did a little bit of help. Or anyway, we paid like $1 or all you could eat for $2, or if you needed it was free. So I was going there every day, taking prasadam for maybe a long time, for months. And then I was becoming purified. This is because of the mercy of the devotees, that I probably wouldn't have gone to a temple, but because they have the prasadam outlet, I came there and started taking prasadam. And they had such love, just like the Prem Sankirtan. I mean, Kurma, he was a devotee in the temple I joined. It's a special temple. Melbourne, Mahaprabhu. What is it? It's a great, I reflect on it again. It's Prabhupada's great mercy that he went to my city. Because he produced people in my country, he produced people like Kurma from Sydney, and he was he's like a demigod. He's like such an advanced Vaishnava, and he trained me when I went to Melbourne. He was like a head pujari, and he would cook. We served with him, and he would do kirtan, and we learned how to do kirtan. And he's such an exalted soul. And so, these things, because Prabhupada, so he was in charge of the restaurant. He would be there sometimes because he was preaching, because he knew that was Prabhupada's move, because the prasadam would purify people. I'm an example of that. And then what happened, that they wanted to preach in the university where I was a student. And they were requesting help from a student in that university to just be the chairman of a club, a student club called Vegetarian Club. And that club would be that they're providing a room once a week, and Hare Krishna people will distribute vegetarian prasadam there. So that was all the club was. So all you needed to do was open the club, and they needed a student to open the club. And I thought, well, that's not a difficult thing at all. In fact, it'll be interesting, become a student leader, open a group. A club with a meeting room. Then you just see how the world has changed so much. Now you never get that in, because now you wouldn't even get a college. A meeting room is just people everywhere together, a meeting like that. In those days, you go to college. I remember when I went to college, had the college experience, and helped the Krishna consciousness devotees preach in the college. Yeah, that was my good fortune. Even standing there, and I remember the Mataji, she came in and she said, told me I had to advertise they were coming. And so they gave me some posters or something, and I put a few of them here and there. And I thought, people, not everybody was like me. I just kind of look in the corners of things. No, people are just like, when I got there, and she said, where are the signs? I didn't see any signs. And I said, I put signs, but I was so then I see this Mataji, she just stands up in front of all the people as they're coming up the steps, and she's just handing them these things, and I'd never seen that before. I thought, like to do such a thing, to just like get into people's lives so powerfully. So where do you get that? That's you get association with people who are like that. Like Prabhupada, you just had the message of Krishna consciousness, and that's what it was like. That you just didn't care. So bold. There's a Mataji. She had 2 kids, and she's just standing there. Where all the students were piling down the stairs, and she's standing there, and I just saw that, and I thought, wow. And I think I may have, helped her or something. Yeah, but anyway, that was Sankirtan, the first time I'd done. And then I did that for 15 years, standing in crowds and stopping people on the streets and just, talk about getting into people's lives. I did that for 6 days a week for about 15 years, just like that was it every day, just like, and push Krishna consciousness on the people. So that's the mood. That was the mission that Prabhupada came and gave and changed those people. And so in that way, people were changed. And basically, when I consider my Krishna consciousness now, it's running along just because of those years of surrender. I had the opportunity, lived as brahmachari in the temple. So it's carrying on up to this point because of however much I must have pleased Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And I was in a temple where Prabhupada personally installed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he said that now people in Melbourne have become fortunate because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And how many times did I bow down in front of that deity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Prabhupada installed and said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there? How many times I bowed down with shaven head at 4:30 in the morning? I lived in the ashram and bowed down and served that deity. Serve that deity, you know, as a brahmachari, collecting for the temple. How much mercy that, you know, we got. And what was that? That was only that mercy. You can't imagine the effect that it, and changed my life completely. A changed person than what I would have been. Karma would have been. I know what it would have been. Something, you know, teacher, art teacher, or something. Rather humorous type, but nothing like the effect that, you know, we've been able to have on people. The way we've been able to become an instrument in helping other people to become Krishna consciousness. So wow. Just got dropped on you this Sri Chaitanya Kripa Doya Koro, Sri Chaitanya Doya, what is that? Sri Chaitanya Doya Koroho Bicha, Sri Chaitanya Doya Koroho Bicha. Just try to understand the value or the extent. Sri Chaitanya Doya, the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I mean, I had no qualification. It was just that Prabhupada went to that city. Prabhupada just had the energy and went there. Otherwise, it would have remained in darkness, that whole country. They never would have come to the point of understanding Prabhupada. Prabhupada came and he just like an infection. But it doesn't spread that quickly. But people just changed as a result of this association. I met those people. I went to the temple. They were worshipping Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Well, look what it did to me. I never met Prabhupada, but look what it did. The effect, it changed me completely, 100%. From the person that I was before. Qualities, behavior, lifestyle, complete. You were never like completely different person. That's the potency. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Doya. So there's the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the significance of his movement we were discussing. Now, to the session today, we're going to discuss Mahaprabhu. This is all leading up to the teachings to Rupa Goswami, but I was going back and I was thinking, where will I start? But everything was so interesting that I just kept going back and back. So I ended at the 10th chapter of Madhulila. This Rupa Shikhar is the 19th chapter, but I couldn't know that has to happen. So we're kind of meandering in. We're meandering in to Rupshika in this way. And because after all, Sri Chaitanya Doya Koroho Bichar, Bichakore Chitte Pabe Chamatkar, you just whatever you consider Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's completely amazing. And go to Modhu Lila Takone Pravashila. If you hear about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, according to Narottama Mahashaya, your heart becomes completely pure. So it doesn't really matter where we start, just as long as we're hearing about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and especially from the lips of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And we'll be hearing this in this session from Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Madhya Lila chapter 1 and chapter 16, and Srila Vrindavan Thakur, Chaitanya Bhagavat, Adi Antakonda, chapter 4. Antyakonda. So last week also we were discussing about this Mahaprabhu's lifetime is divided into two halves of 24 years. Half in Navadip, the other half was after taking sannyas. Now, within that half-life of sannyas, 6 years were Gamon, Agamon, going and coming. Kobe Dokin, Kobe Gol, Kobe Brindavan. He went to South India, Kobe Dokin, he went to South India in this 6-year period. Kobe Gold, he went to Bengal in this period. Kobe Brindavan, and he went to Brindavan. These are the three ways, therefore that was Gamon, Agamon, going and coming. He went to South India, he went to Bengal, and came back to Puri, and then he went to Brindavan. So that's a 6-year period. We're describing that in this session. I showed you a map last week. I'm not showing that again this week. I'll show that next session. But here, look at the 4 years. We're looking at the 4 years, first 4 years. So focus on that. We'll look at the 6 years in the next session. So the South India tour was 2 years. And wouldn't it be wonderful to go on a complete exploration of the South Indian tour? But there's other things I would like to do before that, Chaitanya, but this is the South Indian tour. But anyway, if we went on a South Indian tour, then we'd have to do it. The places, Mahaprabhu was such 4 months in Sri Rangam. We spent time in Sri Rangam, 4 months there. So that was 2 years, and then Ramananda Roy, and then going to the different temples Mahaprabhu preached. I've been on South Indian tours, actually, with devotees, I think twice, and then I oftentimes go, but to actually do a tour specifically following where Mahaprabhu went on the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now, that would be like a real program. It would be like following in the footsteps of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You could work it out. It's all online. I know that people have done the research. People could set out the whole thing. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Of course, we would prepare everything in advance, and as we go, we can hear. In any case, it could also be done virtually. And now we've just seen the Lord arrive in Jagannath Puri. Now, what's why I wanted to focus on this slide rather than the maps of the Lord's journey is because it's interesting that the arrival, what we heard last session about the Gauda Hoite Vaishnava Chindu Shatna, they've arrived 200 devotees from Bengal. That's chapter that begins from that point to the end of the Rath Yatra. That's 3 chapters. Vrindavan Pastimes. That's the Beda Kirtan Pastimes, chapter 11. Chapter 11. That's when the devotees arrived from Bengal. And then the end of Rath Yatra. Okay, that's end of chapter 14. So that's 11, 12, 13, 14. 4 chapters dedicated. It's a 30-day period. It begins just before Snan Yatra and it ends after Rath Yatra. That's 30 days. That's 4 chapters of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Kaviraj Goswami goes very deeply into that. Why? Because it's very important when the devotees came from Gauda Desh and Rath Yatra and they stayed for 4 months. So that happened every year. So it's a very important part of Mahaprabhu's life. So that's explained in the great detail. And the South Indian tour, that's also very important. That's 1 chapter. 1 chapter was Ramananda Sambhad, and then 1 chapter was all the other places. So 1 chapter covering most of the South Indian tour, and 4 chapters covering the devotees. 1 first Rath Yatra and the first arrival of the devotees from Bengal, because that shows how significant the Bengali devotees participating in Rath Yatra in Puri was in Mahaprabhu's life. So, for that reason, we can understand how important it is to celebrate Rath Yatra and movement and preach in that way. So after that, Mahaprabhu, so then every year they come, although it's only described in detail this first time, but every year they come. And Kaviraj Goswami says it was like this every year. So then after that, Mahaprabhu says that he wants to go to Vrindavan. You remember? He went, even when he took Vaishnav mantra in Gaya, he said, I want to go to Vrindavan. And he went, and the voice in the sky said, no, we can't go now. That's a nice letter. We won't describe it in detail today. But he didn't go, he came back. There's so many things needed to be done in Mayapur, Panchatattva, Shankirtan, delivering Jagai Madai, so many things. Sachimata, everything. Sannyas, and after sannyas, so much preaching. So Vrindavan is not a priority, but Mahaprabhu had a desire to go there. So he'll fulfill that. But still, he's staying in, before that, he went to Jagannath Puri, delivered Sabhabama Bhattacharya, South Indian tour. It was like, he could have gone to Vrindavan then. Well, he didn't say that. He said he wanted to go to South India to search after Vishwarup. That was a priority, but he knows everything. He's Antujami, so he really went to do preaching. And that was like, it's like the momentum he picked up. You could see that sannyas is so glorious. He got a katwar, so majestic. Mahaprabhu shaved head, and then from then on, he's just a madman. As a grihastha in Navadip, he also was a madman, but at least he was within the same devotees, and it was contained. But sannyas, that was it. He would let him loose. He began. That's nice already. He never lost that total consciousness of madness. When he arrived in Puri, he was already fell down unconscious. So then the preaching is, he just sits down, he focuses the Vedanta Sutra, Sabhabama Bhattacharya. That's big preaching. The guy, we couldn't even get close to the Sankaracharya of Puri now. We wouldn't even be able to they wouldn't let us see him. Maybe some ISKCON Acharya, ISKCON Guru, but just a Grihastha, no. So I'd go and debate with him. Even for him to be in a temple and see you fall unconscious and he'd take you back to his residence. So it's very extraordinary, the way Mahaprabhu, his entrance into Jagannath Puri and the impact he had. And that was built up momentum, and then he went to South India preaching, and then he was like, he's really he didn't stay longer in Puri. You could think why he didn't stay longer. Didn't need to, because Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was so converted that there's no way he was going to bloop or come back after 2 years and say, oh, well, I kind of changed my mind again. I mean, he showed his Sadbhuj from home. Come on. That's something you're not going to forget about. Mahaprabhu, he showed his Sadbhuj form. That's not just like, that's something that, it's no longer about grammar and debating. He won his heart. He became such a devotee. And in that way, Puri was, So then he went and preached in South India. And now, again, after completing the South India tour, then he doesn't stay. He doesn't talk about Vrindavan again. He's kept in, even though he's saying he wants to go to Vrindavan, they're not letting him. He comes back from the South Indian tour, and then he says, I want to go to Vrindavan. And they say, no, it's better you stay for the Rath Yatra. The devotees from Bengal are coming. Well, that's the first time. And then again, we heard that. He returns from South India, they came. Then after that, he says, I want to go to Vrindavan. And then they said, no, it's getting cold. Kartik, it's getting cold. Not the time to go. You stay, you see the Dol Yatra. That's spring, that's Gopanima time. And then you can go. So he stays for that. And then they say, no, stay for Rath Yatra. And he stays for that. And then they say, no, in this way they're keeping him, can keep Mahaprabhu in Puri for 2 years. And then eventually Mahaprabhu's got to, he's speaking to them. And we're discussing from Chapter 16, Madhya Lila, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chapter 16, Madhya Lila, text number 7. Madhya Lila, Chapter 16, text number 7 to 10. And then after that, we'll go to a few places which we'll tell you as we go. We'll go to Chaitanya. But anyway, we're discussing this now. Mahaprabhu is getting permission to go to Vrindavan. So we're going to read these verses. Tobe Prabhu Sarvabhauma Ramananda Sthane Alingan Kori Kohe Modur Bochane. Then Prabhu Sarvabhauma Ramananda Sthane. He went to them and he went there. Alingan, he embraced them. Just see the descriptions. I mean, we can behave like that. It's not that we go to see the authority. I remember when I joined the temple president, he never embraced. I don't even remember being embraced by him. All the subsequent, all the authorities in the temple. It wasn't like, When I got to Bengal, then I realized how much important is embracing amongst devotees. The Bengalis, they used to line up. We'd go to the village and we're leaving, and they'd be lined up in a big line. And I'm going, you got to embrace. Every one of them wants to embrace you. It's like, because it's so important to them. And then I realized that in Bengal, you can embrace, especially, this is they stopped this pandemic, stopped it, but got to start that again, embracing. Bhakti Swami Maharaj used to embrace me for the last 20 years. And what a blessing in life, this body. I think that's enough. That's all just that will take me back to Godhead. That this person was embraced by Bhakti Swami, and appreciates it, understanding that he was a Prakrita Deva, Shita Purush, who just came to serve like a real associate of Prabhupada, like a Brajavashi, a Gopika, who's just cruising around ISKCON in a dress of a sannyasi. That's how I see Bhakti Swami playing different roles. His GBC thing, his leadership thing, his preaching, because I saw him preaching in Bengali, it's different. So sweet. He would explain the Bangla, the bhajans of Govinda Ghosh, Thakur Bhakti Vinod, so sweet, his preaching in Bangla. he was just like a Brajavashi, a Braja Gopika, in a dress of a sannyasi cruising around serving Prabhupada in ISKCON, and to be embraced by that person, and that he liked me preaching in Bangla, and what a, how much closer could you get to Prabhupada than something like that? But unfortunately, I have this pain that I never asked him that question. What would I should have? He would have answered me. He treated me like a friend. I could have asked him, what would Srila Prabhupada thought of hearing me, preaching Bengali? And everybody said it would have been a special response. But I can see in my heart him saying what he'd say, but I won't feel that. So Mahaprabhu went and he embraced them. He embraced them. And then he explains, Mahaprabhu explains. Bahut utkanta mor, jaite Vrindavan, tomar hate dui, bochonar koilo gamon. So bahut utkanta mor, jaite Vrindavan. Bahut utkanta mor. And that's what we're saying, but this 4 years since he's taken sannyas now, but even before that, but he didn't go. But bahut utkanta mor, jaite Vrindavan. And then they're feeling a little bit, guilty that they didn't. Well, they're feeling that sorry is that they didn't allow, that they restricted Mahaprabhu. So they agreed. So he says that go to Deshe hoy modui shamashai janani janobi aidui doyamoy. I'll go through Gauradesh because there is doyamoy, two very merciful, more shamashai shelters in Gauradesh. Maganga, Janani and Janobi, my mother and Maganga, and they're doyamoy. So then Mahaprabhu leaves, and there's some interesting leelas in his first, as he's leaving Orissa, in the Puri area still. Now the king of Puri, he arranges that we're in any place that Mahaprabhu is stopped, he built 5 or 7 new huts. And eventually they gave Mahaprabhu to permission to leave on Vijay Dashami din. So that was a few months after that he went and embraced Ramananda Roy and Sarvam Bhattacharya, and then got their permission. A few months they said, okay, Vijay Dashami din, a few months. So then that day comes, and Mahaprabhu in the morning, he goes, he takes shelter of Lord, he takes permission of Lord Jagannath, and then he makes his departure from Jagannath Puri. And in every place that he stopped, the king had built 5 or 7 huts to provide all the requirements of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The king had orders written down that in every village, build 5 or 7 new houses and store all the requirements for Mahaprabhu. All kinds of food. Harish Chandra and Maradwaj, he gave them this responsibility. And then he built boats, new boats in every river. You mentioned all the rivers. He built new boats to take Mahaprabhu across. And he said, wherever Mahaprabhu crossed a river, that should be, a stamba should be put there, and that should be a holy place, and I will take my bath in every place. Now in the evening, Shonjate Cholibe Prabhu Nipadi Shunila. Shonjate, in the evening time, Cholibe Prabhu, that the Lord had left, Nipati Shunilo. When the king heard, then Hashti Upar, on top of elephants, Tambu Grihe, he built little tents Strigon Cholaya, and sent the Strigon, all of the princesses and all the queens of Jagannath Puri. He sent them on elephants on the road, on the path that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going to be journeying. And in this way, they saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here. It's beautiful, this painting where he's taking a bath and he's chanting Gayatri and all the Ranis. What a thing to witness, huh? Before Mahaprabhu departs. So isn't that such kindness of the king? You know, what a ruler that he so much considers the spiritual needs of his family and his, you know, he sees that as a priority, and so he arranges for that. And it's so important for the ladies to be able to, and it's done in such a respectable way, isn't it? It's like so beautiful hearing this. What a leela. Gadadha Pandit Jabe Shangite Cholila. To go, he'd started to go, yeah. Gadadha Pandit Jabe Shangite Cholila. So Jabe Shangite, to go along with the Lord. Gadadha Pandit Cholila. He'd already made arrangements, whatever it is, packed whatever he was going. Gadadha Pandit Jabe Shangite Cholila. He'd come and he'd started to come along with the Lord. Ketra Shanna Shna Chodeha Prabhu Nishidila. But the Lord didn't allow him to break the Kshetra Sannyas vow, which he actually took. We hear that he took this vow just so that, you know, he would never be required to leave the association of Mahaprabhu, who it appeared was going to stay in Jagannath Puri. But he doesn't stay in Jagannath Puri. He actually comes back and then he goes to Vrindavan. So it's 2 times that he leaves. Then he stays in Jagannath Puri. But Gadadha Pandit, he stayed in Jagannath Puri because Mahaprabhu didn't allow him to leave because of this Kshetra Sannyas vow that he took. And then he said, well, more Kshetra Sannyas Pandit Kohe Jahatumi Shay Nilachal. Pandit Kohe Jahatumi Shay Nilachal Ketra Shanash More Jog Roshatal. So where Jahatumi Shay Nilachal, wherever you are, that is Nilachal, that is Gopinath, Jagannath Puri. My Ketra, that is my Nilachal. I took Ketra Sannyas. Wherever you are, that is Nilachal. That's just reasonable argument. Ketra Sannyas Mo Jog Roshatal. But that other thing that you think I have to stay in Puri, that can go to hell. But he couldn't tolerate it. And Mahaprabhu left. And he told him he couldn't come. There were other. I should go back. Yeah, I couldn't think so. Yeah, good. Maybe we'll just finish off and then come back on that. Get out of questions. And then Mahaprabhu, he just left. It was amazing. He just left. I mean, what a relationship! How much pain that would have been for Gadadha Pandit. And yeah, then there was other leelas in this area here, described in Chaitanya Bhagavat in detail, and also Chaitanya Charitamrita. That this when he first reaches Bengal, the governor there, Javon, the Turks, Mughals, they ruled Bengal. So the first ruler there. And then he got influenced by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's association, became his devotee, and arranged everything. That's very wonderful, actually. That would be part of the Mahaprabhu's. But anyway, that could be discussed sometimes. Very wonderful. Mahapatra and the seva he does. And he helps the Lord through the kingdom into all the way up to the Ganga. And Mahaprabhu reaches the Ganga. So we can discuss from that next week, I think. Mahaprabhu, from when he reaches the Ganga, and then travel. As you mentioned, I want to go to Vrindavan via Bengal, so I can more do Shamashrai Janavi Dui Doyamoy, so we can take bath in the Ganga, drink the Ganga Jal, and journey all the way to Vrindavan. At least he could go all the way to Haridwar, then just cut down to Vrindavan and all the way. That was the plan. Isn't it super? But anyway, we'll hear everything that happens later. So, is any questions? We sang a song by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Jay that Gai Gaur Madhur Sware, in a very sweet tune, Sware, Gai Gaur Madhur Sware, and very sweetly he sings. Mahaprabhu singing this Jivana Hoilo Sheshna Bhojile Rishikesh. Mahaprabhu singing Gai Gaur Madhur Sware in a very sweet voice. Jivana Hoilo Sheshna Bhojile Rishikesh. I've wasted my life not worshipping the Lord. Just taste the holy name, the Namrosh, Mato Re, Egba, taste that. Somehow focus. In this song. Grihe Tako, Bone Tako, Shada Harinam Bole Dako, whether you live in home or Bone Tako, whether you live a renounced life. Shada Harinam Bole Dako, call out the name of the Lord. Shukhe Dukhe Bula Nako Badane Harinam Bolore, just in happiness or distress, chant the holy name. Maya Jale Bhaddahoy. In the illusion of Maya, Bhaddahoy, you become entangled. Achamiche Kajaloy, and then there's so much work, so much we're busy, so much labor, so much work we have to do. Now that you've got this advanced consciousness, use it to chant the name of Radha. Gai Gaura Madhuswara. Jivan Hoilo Sheshna Bhojile Rishikesh. Bhakti Vinod Upadesha. So thank you very much. Next week we'll carry on, as I mentioned, from the point there where Gadadhar Pandit has just left. Mahaprabhu has left Gadadhar Pandit, and then he's arrived. He went and the Muslim king helped him to the Ganga, and he's just reached the Ganga, and he's going to travel on the Ganga and give him the next session. Thank you.